Hello everyone. Today we have gathered here to celebrate the homegoing of Sweat and Soap. Before I get started, I would like to thank your bald-headed senpai for inviting me to speak to you guys today, as well as all of you for showing up today. I know all of you have busy schedules, fighting crime and doing housework. I know others need to get back to volleyball practice or get back to the office or causing existential dread and fear. Who invited the villains? Of course you did. Okay, so though we are filled with sorrow, I would like to take the time to sit back and reflect on Sweat and Soap and how it has taught us that despite how we may feel about ourselves, how we may feel about our imperfections, there's always someone who thinks that we are just perfect the way we are. You see, Asuko was constantly bullied growing up for being sweaty. It's not her fault. But because none of the kids liked her, she found it hard to like herself. Imagine living a life thinking that you aren't good enough because you stink, because you're sweaty, to feel that you don't deserve love because of some extra perspiration. No, Asuko wasn't very kind to herself, even though we know that she was loving and kind to all of the people around her, but she just couldn't do it for herself. But then one day, Kotaro came into her life. And when Kotaro took a big whiff of that Asuko number 5, I gotta admit, I was a little weirded out. But for them, it was love at first smell. Sweat and Soap taught us not only how to love, but how to be loved, and showed us that it's not always easy. But with a little bit of communication and a little bit of trial and error, it too can be conquered. Asuko's constant unwarranted insecurities and Kotaro's overly apologetic ways would have been enough to derail any couple. But together, they were able to grow and be strong with each other. Yamada-san blessed us with a story about a couple who faces real-world issues found in relationships. Falling in love, to overthinking, to unnecessary jealousy. It's all here in this manga for us. So friends, as we sit back and we reflect on how much this manga series impacted our lives, impacted our emotions, impacted everything around us, I ask you to reflect. Take a moment and ask yourself, have you been kind to yourself today? Yes, it is good to be kind to friends and family and strangers, but no one can treat you as well as you can treat yourself. Recalibrate that inner voice that tells us that we are not good enough, that we are not deserving, that you aren't worthy, that you're insufficient, all because you aren't perfect. I am here to tell you today that despite all of our shortcomings, because we all have them, you are deserving. You are deserving of love from not only others, but from yourself. Thank you, Asuko, for finally seeing this about yourself. And thank you, Kotaro, for showing her the way. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and thank you again for letting me speak at this service.
Later.
Oh, such a wonderful service. Dag spoke so eloquently, so beautifully. It's really what Yamada-sensei would have wanted, for sure. Oh, Sweat and Soap. Truly, you left us too soon. Published by Kodansha and completed in only 11 volumes. It was really an unconventional romance, like she mentioned before. Sweat and Soap really did start off unconventionally. I'm not here to kink shame, but I'm glad I kept going because it turned out to be one of my favorite series of the past year. Who would have thought that going into a series for the spiciness and the quirkiness, I would end up getting one of the most wholesome and greatest series that I have ever read. I've definitely had an issue with getting into romance and shoujo manga. Sweat and Soap, we just hit it off right away. I'll never forget that moment when I was like, wow, so we're doing this, okay. Such a monumental moment. I think what really set Sweat and Soap apart from all the other romance series that I haven't been able to get into is the fact that Sweat and Soap didn't fall into that really terrible, tropey, hot mess category that a lot of romance manga does, and that I typically just cannot stand personally. I think my favorite part about Sweat and Soap and what really made it special for me was just knowing that the main character, Asako, really has these terrible insecurities and anxieties that stem from her sweat and from being picked on as a child. I mean, they literally called her a stinko. Gosh, I hate kids. Asako's anxieties and insecurities, they're just addressed with such care, and Natsuri-san was just the picture perfect partner. Somebody who communicates well, who listens, and who never makes you feel like there's anything really wrong with you. Even if you sweat like all the time. It's a medical condition. I mean, that's gotta be dehydrating. Sweat and Soap, thank you for coming into our lives and for showing us what a really good, wholesome, and spicy, well-balanced romance manga can be and should aspire to. Never in my whole life would I have thought that a series about smelling sweat would show me a love so pure. Who knew that the art of basic hygiene is something that could be so intimate and so sexy? You will forever live in our hearts and hopefully on our shelves. Even though you're printed by Kodansha, so one of my volumes is smaller than all the others and one of them has a crooked printed spine. But that's okay. That's okay, Sweat and Soap, because it's you. After all, it's like Dag said, we all have shortcomings. Or do we? Yeah, no, I wouldn't say that cheating at Monopoly means that I have trust issues. She was like, it's our health or tacos. And I chose tacos. No, I don't think it's inconsiderate to hog pillows. So apparently the way that I dress is disrespectful. I refuse to think that I'm the bad guy because I don't want to go to their house for Thanksgiving. I think it's actually more inconsiderate to not buy me more pillows so that I don't take yours. I mean, basically, I told him, look, just because you're retired with 3 kids and somehow still don't know how to look like a hot dad isn't my problem. I don't need the energy of somebody who doesn't want to eat tacos 24/7 with me. Selfish? No. Selfless. I'd go if their mom knew how to make some good macaroni and cheese, but she doesn't. Why are you writing so much? You know, the other day she was like, you're lucky to have me. I think really what you should be writing down is that I'm perfect. I know that's not, a word to throw around lightly, but I think it sums me up pretty well, yeah. The DILF energy chose me. What do you mean I see things really one-sided? I didn't ask to be able to rock this. It was simply given to me. Look, I might have taken remedial math, but 1 + 1 = 2, okay? Thanksgiving is about family and food. That's really funny. Like, I'm lucky to have you. With great power comes great responsibility. Yelled it out, was crying, snot everywhere. Like, was that supposed to be convincing? No, I mean, like, I've literally never done anything wrong in my whole life. I mean, who puts only one type of cheese in macaroni and cheese? So, go ahead. I'll eat my little tacos by myself. No, I don't think this has anything to do with my lactose intolerance. Why did you even bring that up? Make it make sense, that's all I'm saying. I'm just a precious angel baby. That's probably why they had me sitting in the villain section.
I grieve for him. Perhaps it would have been better if he hadn't been born. So sad.